Recorded live.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the second episode of the Movement Boxing Podcast. We got all our co-hosts on today on time for the most part. You got myself, Twine the Divine Liberty from HoopJab.com and Rocky Mountain Boxing. We got 2K the guy from the Gods of Boxing Talk. We got my man Bogard, a.k.a. Bo, from Truth and Facts About Boxing. And we got Big Cool from Colossal Boxing Talk. How y'all doing this evening, fellas?
Doing good, man.
Doing good, can't complain. Ready to get this show started.
Glad to be here, man. Just the movement.
All right, for sure. Representing, we all come together to make this thing happen. We got some good topics for everybody today. Some stuff that's not really going to be talked about in the mainstream for the most part, or talked about in all the groups that we're involved in. So we're going to put y'all up on some game on some different topics.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give my man Bogard a chance from Truth and Facts About Boxing to give a breakdown about his background in boxing and how he got into this game, because he wasn't around last week for our introductions. So let me go ahead and give Bo this time to get started on that, man. How'd you get involved in this?
I actually got involved in boxing. I don't know who Bogard is, but Bo, a.k.a. me. But I actually got involved in boxing when I was a kid, man. I was about a lot of people don't know. Half of my family is Cuban, is from Cuba. So I got involved in it. It started out like a cultural thing, watching the amateurs. My uncles and them, was deep into watching the amateur fights and everything. So it was like, okay, watching the amateurs, and then it was just a thing where as I turned like about 8 or 9, I just really fell in love with it. My mom tried to steer me away from the sport. She would introduce me to baseball and football and basketball, and being 6'1", 175, I was a little short for basketball. But yeah, she tried to steer me away, and then she finally she saw that it wasn't going away, so she caved in, and I fought in the amateurs. I was in the I've been in the amateurs in the locker rooms with guys like David Diaz, Anwar Oshana, Faiz Okendo. Angel Manfredi was already a pro at that time. I went to Windy City Boxing Gym, Park Ridge Boxing Gym, Humboldt. Finally wound up at Pugs up in Palatine. So, and I just always, even though I didn't go into being a pro, I always trained. I still train like a fighter. And right now, my daughter, which I'm really proud of, my daughter Shania, Daddy love you, baby. She's she's taking it up. So, and then what got me into doing my own show on YouTube, which is Truth and Facts About Boxing, was I started watching YouTube. Bernard introduced me to Dante and Boxing Ego, and at first I was, I liked how Dante was, and then some of the things I liked, some of the things I didn't. Then I ran across the Gods of Boxing Talk, and that's why 2K, me and him, I didn't know that he was in one of the rooms, but we chopped it up, and man, it just he just let me come on the show and encourage me, and I ran into other good guys. So, and here I am right now today, man, doing my thing and down with the movement.
All right, that's what's up, man. We glad to have you a part of this thing, the movement. Bringing the unfiltered truth, the unbiased news and boxing, raw and uncut, and you make the decisions for yourself how you want to run with it from there. We got some good topics for y'all today. Before we got our special guest coming on, which is the trainer for Julian J. Rock Williams, super middleweight or junior middleweight contender right now. We got his trainer coming on in a bit, Stephen Breadman Edwards, but we're going to get some topics out of the way before he comes on. With that being said, our first topic of the night will be the WBA super flyweight title fight that happened earlier in the day over in Japan. A lot of people aren't on game or put on point about this because it was overseas, and of course it was the timing, being overseas or whatnot in Japan. So we had Kohei Kono face Panama's Luis Concepcion for the WBA super flyweight fight. And it was a great fight. Let me go ahead and kick it to my man 2K and get his little analysis of what went on and what he thought about the fight and the scoring.
Yeah, I'm going to give a small breakdown. I don't want to take too much time, but Louis Concepcion, a lot of people don't know who he is, man. This has been a long, long road for him, man. I mean, this is his first title fight win, but he had 3 previously. He had 2 previous title shots against WBA flyweight titleist Hernan Marquez, and then he had 1 against WBC super flyweight Carlos Cuadras, who's getting ready to fight Roman Gonzalez this coming month. But he failed in all 3 of those shots. And the fight before the Cano fight, he beat Hernan Marquez for the first time in 3 fights. The previous 2 fights he was TKO'd, and then this fight he won by unanimous decision. So coming into this fight, I was like, man, he pretty much turned over a new leaf a little bit. He's ready for this. He's confident. He got the rematch that he wanted from one of the 2 guys, and I had picked him to win simply because of that, the experience, his style, all of that. It was his time, okay? And then Kono, he was never really expected to fight at the world-class level. If you look at his career, if you followed him early on, I mean, this is a guy that lost his first pro fight, similar to Bernard Hopkins. And then I think in the next 5 years, he lost 2 more. And then at one point, and I think it's in 2011, he dropped 3 fights in a row against Thomas Rojas, Yatu Sato, and Yohei Tabe. So, I mean, at one point in his career, he was getting ready to be called a gatekeeper. But then he got a belt in 2012, and then he got a career-defining win against Koki Kameda, who at that time was one of the best super flyweights in the division, it was an excellent win. He turned over a new leaf as well. So, but coming into this fight, I just felt Concepcion's experience and his style was going to be too much, and that's what we saw early on, man. Concepcion commanded the fight using controlled pressure behind his jab. I mean, from round 1, my man was jabbing. And another thing, Kono looked very uncomfortable, and he looked off balance early on. I mean, I can recall every power shot that Concepcion was throwing, and it wouldn't even land flush. It would land on, like, Kono's shoulder or maybe his forearm. It would knock his ass back up against the ropes. My man would be falling to the left, falling to the right, looking all, uncoordinated in the ring. I was like, damn, is he that fucking powerful? Or is he just off balance?
I would agree. He was a little jumpy, like real jumpy in his movement. I definitely would agree with that.
Yeah, it was like he was nervous or something like that. But nevertheless, he controlled the pace, controlled the aggression behind his jab. What pissed me off late in the fight is that he stopped jabbing and made it into a dog fight, and I felt that's what gave Kono more of a chance. If he would have kept jabbing, would have kept controlling distance, controlling his pressure behind that jab, and not stop jabbing, come forward, and allow for it looked like a body fight dog match, you know what I'm saying, on the inside when it got to like round 6 and later. He should have just kept doing what he was doing. So that allowed Kono to come back into the fight. Kono was digging to the body beautifully. He was landing nice shots up top. He would start at the body, then he would end up top. That kept Concepcion confused. He was on his back foot later in that fight. He had his back up against the ropes multiple times. Kono had him trapped in corners. I mean, man, if Concepcion wouldn't have controlled the beginning of this fight, I could see Kono taking this fight just based on his work in the latter round.
Okay. For y'all didn't see the fight, it was definitely action-packed. One of the reasons we need to get these smaller weights broadcast in the United States, man, because it was a lot of action in that, especially in the latter rounds. It was a great fight, Kono definitely got off to a late start. That ultimately led to the difference in the fight.
Yep.
With that said, let me go ahead and take it over to Big Cool. What you think about the fight, man?
It was a la kind of Lamont Peterson versus Danny Garcia, where similar but different because Lamont, his strategy was to kind of frustrate Danny, but Concepcion just came out and really outfought Kono early and really sealed it in the first half. I mean, he landed a lot of right hands, a lot of right uppercuts. He landed his fair share of body shots as well. But Kono did counter him well at times. I like his body work. Like I said, if he would have used his jab early, I think this could have been an easier fight for him, a more winnable fight. and it kind of could have pulled away with what he did in the second half of the fight. But congratulations to Concepcion. He did what he had to do. He finally got over that world title hump. And it was a good fight. It definitely was some good exchanges throughout the whole fight. And it was, I'm pretty sure the fans over there got their money's worth. But it was a good fight. It's just similar to Lamont and Danny. Conor started too late, and Concepcion started right when you're supposed to start at the beginning of the fight. He bagged the early rounds early, did enough late, grabbed a few rounds late, and now he's the champion.
All right, let me take it over to my man Bo. It was a unanimous decision called by the judges. What did you think about the scores, and how did you actually score the fight?
First off, let me just say this, man. Being here with you fellas, man, really means a lot. But I thought that because like you said, the fight came on early today. So it wasn't like we got a chance to watch it. You put the link up and we was able to check it out. Appreciate you for that. When I first heard the scores, I'm thinking, oh, man, it was a total wash because I'll be the first one to admit I'm not as up on the littler guys as, 2K puts me on, USIP puts me on, so I'm not up on the little guys like that. So I remember Kono from when he fought Kometa. So I had to actually Google Concepcion. And I think it was the Herman fight that I got to watch.
Yeah.
2K told me, 2K told me about that. So when I saw this fight, when I heard the score, I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, it was a wash. And when I first watched the fight, I actually had it a draw. And the first, I would say 3 rounds, you can kind of see where the scoring was a big time in favor of Concepcion. But then as the fight went on, I was lost because I'm like, this is not equaling to what the score that I'm hearing. It's not a wash. And I watched it a second time, and then I had Concepcion winning by, 7-5. So it was a lot closer to me than what they. And I probably, if I watch it a third time, I probably have Kono winning. It was just one of them fights, man. It was the fight that Kono waited too late to get started. He came out showing too much respect for Concepcion, or he came out, looked like he tried to come out and try to, box a little bit first instead of doing what he did when he fought Kometa. He should have came out fresh out the gate like Concepcion did, and I think it was big. I think it was who said it earlier that Concepcion came out the gate throwing. He started hard and fast, fresh out the gate. And if Kono would have started like that, it would have been a good fight because his body shots, the only thing I hated was Kono kept getting hit by the same punch. He kept getting hit by the right hand and the uppercuts. He kept getting hit by the same punch, but his body work was excellent. There was a moment in the fight, I don't know if you guys caught it, where for some reason Concepcion kind of turned his back. I think they bumped. Something happened where Concepcion turned his back.
There was a
and then Kono hit on some left hooks and lead.
Yeah, he turned his back, and Kono jumped on him. But I just really feel like that. Sometimes I have to wonder, and it's because now we know it's not just here in America. I have to question the scoring system of how these judges score fights, because you hear a score, you think a wash, and then when you watch the fight, it's totally different. Those of us that know what we're looking at, it's totally different. Like those body shots where the referee, where the judge is looking at them body shots that Kono was throwing, because the crowd definitely was. So I have to wonder, what are these judges looking at when they're calling the fight? But I'd be interested in a rematch, and I think if they have a rematch and Kono come out fresh out, fast, square out the gate, because one thing about Concepcion, and I hate when I see guys do this, he always, if you watch when he would exit out from his offense to defense stand, he always stood tall. And what I mean is his chin is not tucked behind his shoulders, and he was getting hit every time after the end of his exchanges. Kono was catching him every time with the looping right hand because the boy would come out tall. And once Kono figured that out, that his hooks could work, because this dude, when he retreats tall, he was landing, and it was beautiful.
All right, let me just give my take on it real quick. Now you remember a while back, you know, we're all part of the Facebook group talking boxing and bullshit, and you know, I was going heavy for Victor Postol against Terrence Crawford. Now, stylistically, that's how I saw the fight turning out early on. The way Kono was fighting, being the bigger guy on the outside, moving around, and Terrence Crawford having to push the issue as the smaller guy. That's what happened early on this fight. But, you know, it worked in Concepcion's favor, you know. I want to say the unsung hero in this fight happened to be, in my opinion, Concepcion's left hook. I mean, he used it in a lot of various ways. He led with it on occasion as opposed to throwing his jab, and he also used it in like I guess I would say like the Andre Ward-esque fashion, to where he would use it as like a throwaway hook to set up the right hand, and he rocked Kono a few times early in the fight. So I think that was possibly the unsung hero, and he also utilized it. That was his main body punch, was the left hook to the body. So the left hook was definitely played a difference in that fight to me. You know, like 2K was saying, you know, Kono didn't look comfortable from round one. Like, he just wasn't in it. You know, he was real jumpy in movement. And, you know, he's always been a little bit awkward, but his output usually negated that in the past. But in this fight, he didn't let his hands go early, and that was ultimately the difference. Like, he tried to use ring generalship and all that, but Concepcion was making, you know, pushing the action. And we really didn't see him I didn't really see him make the main adjustments until, like, round 8, you know, personally. I guess the best round, those were actually the better rounds, too, were the championship rounds, you know, and Kono got it together after Concepcion, you know, hit him with one of those uppercuts. But, you know, one of the things I noticed defensively that Kono was doing is he held, like, a high earmuff guard early on, and that affected his ability to counterpunch. Like, he wasn't able to throw counters because he had that earmuff guard up. So later on in the fight, he made the adjustment. He put his hands down a little bit lower, and he was able to counter Concepcion over and over. So that was one of the things I noticed. That was one of his adjustments he made a little bit too late in the fight. You know, ultimately just not letting his hands go played the difference in that fight. But I did also score 7-5 for Concepcion, and I only watched it once. Go ahead.
I want to say this real quick, man. You know, Concepcion was saying before the fight, you know, or at least he wasn't saying. There's just rumors circulating anyway. You know, he beat Hernan Marquez, you know, the way he did by unanimous decision in the third fight after being knocked out twice, 2 times previously. He wants the Cuadras rematch. In my opinion, whether Cuadras wins or loses against Roman Gonzalez next month, I don't think he should go that route, B. I think he should stay away from Cuadras.
Not at all. Yeah, you know, Marquez had a lot taken out of him from the Chocolatito fight as well. So.
Yep.
But that leads us to our next topic. We're going to keep the little guys on this one, too. We trying to get some spotlight to the smaller weights on this show because they're not getting enough love, you know. Recently, the WBA put out there would be a purse bid for the Juan Francisco Estrada Kazuto Ioka fight.
Yes, sir.
They were supposed to be able to come to an agreement. I still guess they have like maybe 20 days left in that they could actually come to an agreement and continue negotiating, but it's looking like it's probably going to end up with a purse bid. Let me go ahead and start off with you, Big Cool. What you think about that fight and as far as what's happening with the purse bid possibly happening with this?
Yeah, who's involved again? And pardon my ignorance, because I really don't pay too much attention to the smaller weight classes other than a few names.
Okay, we got El Gallo, Juan Francisco Estrada, the dude that gave Chocolatito everything he could handle, you know, and he's going against Kazuto Ioka, who happens to be a pretty great fighter himself. He's also a 3-division champ like Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. You know, starting with minimum weights and moving up to light flyweight, and now he's a flyweight belt holder. I think Al Gallo is one of the more unsung fighters, but he's been cracking the top 10 pound for pound in a lot of people's lists lately, so people are starting to notice him, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like I'm taking y'all word because y'all, like I said, y'all cover the lower weights more than I do, but Estrada, I definitely seen him fight. He definitely a terrific fighter. You know, big country, can box, definitely tough. And I haven't seen the other guy, but I mean, if they have to make it, you know, be a purse bid, so be it. But I'm all for great fighters fighting each other, and you know, like I said, it sounds like it'll be a great fight. Two top, you know, fighters in boxing, not just in the lower weight division. So I think however they get the fight done, get it done, and hopefully he can find a spot on an American, you know, outlet so we can all see these fighters. Because like I said, guys like me who really don't pay too much attention, not to disrespect the lower weight classes, you know, will get a chance to see these guys if they're on the PBC or Showtime or HBO. So hopefully, you know, with Chocolito, you know, bringing a lot of attention to the lower weight classes, he can open the door for, you know, many other great fighters to get their shine as well. So I hope the fight gets made, and I'm gonna study up on the guy that Estrada's supposed to be fighting. But I think it should get made by any means.
All right, let me go ahead and pass it over to my man 2K. What you think about the potential of this fight, and, you know, just give your take on it, man.
Oh, man. Well, me and my man Seth, we made a video about this fight, you know, of course, before it went to purse bid, only back when the WBA ordered it, since Kazuto Ioka is the WBA regular champion at 112 pounds, and Juan Francisco Estrada is the WBA super champion at 112 pounds. So they ordered it. We made a video on it immediately. Shout out to my man Malachi. He was my special guest. This is
big up to Danger Zone Boxing while we got it. Danger Zone Boxing. Big up to them. Malachi was good. You know, Chaz. Big up to both.
Yes, absolutely. This is a super fight at the lower weight classes, man. And that's what I was basically saying in the video. I've got Estrada winning this fight. I think it'll be a close fight, but I think Estrada's experience, the way that he applies pressure, I don't like how Kazuto Ioka keeps a high guard. He keeps a high guard to the point where he leaves his body open, and Juan Francisco Estrada is a nice body puncher. Also, he doesn't give you too much head movement. He doesn't give you too much upper body movement at all, and he doesn't give you any lateral movement as well. He's more of a kind of a straight up and down guy, works behind the jab, which is a good thing, but when you're going up against a guy that applies so much pressure, you want to give him a little bit of movement. You want to try to keep him on his back foot. While Kazuto Ioka, he may have a little bit of pop. I mean, he has 20 wins, 1 loss, and 12 knockouts. So he has a little bit of pop, but I don't think it'll be enough to keep Estrada off of him. But I do see a war in this fight. Man. But I'm leaning towards Estrada. But, this could be potentially fight of the year if it gets enough attention or the attention that it deserves. It could be potentially fight of the year.
All right, and the way it's looking now, if it goes to purse bid, Estrada's team is looking to make the fight in October, and he's been on a little bit of a layoff since injuring his hand in his last fight. So they're looking at October for this fight if it does get negotiated, or whether it goes to purse bid or not. They're trying to get it done for October, which it'll probably be later October considering the date now, beginning in September. But he's been training already. He's already been in training camp. Let me get a different perspective on it. Let me get you to answer this, Bo. This is the WBA's attempt to consolidate their belts. It's been a little bit hit or miss, I guess, so far in what they're doing. How do you feel about it so far as what the WBA is doing and trying to eliminate some of their titles?
Right now, I don't feel anything because they haven't been successful at one attempt at trying to get this done. Do they have the right idea? Yeah, they have the right idea of having some of the super fight the regular or whatever the case may be. But because we haven't actually seen in a situation where it has actually worked just yet, it's kind of hard to say that I feel any way about it. I think they have a right idea. I just don't think that the wheel is turning for it to go in the right way for them as of right now. But this fight here, I like this fight. And if don't nobody know anything about Kazuto Ioka, now him I do know about, and Estrada I know about. If you all you gotta do is look at the guys that this dude has had fought, Kazuto Ioka. He, Felix Alvarado, and he was undefeated. The guy he lost to I think his name is I'm Not something. I can't pronounce his last name.
Fellas, not to cut y'all off. But Breadman just texted me and said he's about to call in, so just to give y'all a heads up.
Oh, okay, for sure. Okay. For sure. All right, cool.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, now you look at that. Now, that guy, I'm Not, he also fought and beat Arroyo, who happens to be this, another guy that gave Roman Gonzalez, he beat Arroyo before Gonzalez fought him. So he actually fought a guy who gave Gonzalez some trouble. So Ioka is, he has a 57% knockout ratio. Okay, he's a good pressure fighter. He's going to come. He's going to give you everything he got. But Estrada is just a whole nother cat. If the Estrada we saw versus Roman Gonzalez comes out in this fight, and I agree with 2K, this could be a super fight at the low level because you got two guys that's probably rated in the top 5 in the world in their respective division. So this could turn out to be a super fight. I like this fight. I hope we get a chance to see it, and I hope they do win the person being put it in America. It's a really good fight. But as far as the WBA, I mean, like I said, they have the right idea. I just would finally like to see one of these organizations do something with all these many belts they have out there, because it's crazy to see one guy holding the WBA belt, then you go to another fight, and another guy's holding that same belt up. And you're trying to figure out which one is that. Is that the international, the interim? I mean, which title is that?
All right. Before we bring Breadman on the line, let me just put my little 2 cents in. I honestly feel like El Gallo Estrada had a lot to do with Chocolatito's decision to take this fight with Quadras and try and get that 4th title, divisional title now. I've said it on Bo's show recently that I've seen, Roman chinks in the armor slowing down a little bit. And, another fight with Estrada would have probably starched him too much to go after this 4th world title that he's going against Quadras now. So I definitely want to say y'all need to keep your heads up on Estrada. The dude is bad. He's a tough dude. With that said, let's bring our dude Breadman on the line. Welcome to the show, Stephen Breadman Edwards.
Hey, how you guys
doing? Julian J. Rock Williams. How you doing today, man?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Pretty good. It's been an interesting week. Your fighter is at the end of some of the stuff going on in the blogs and on the different websites right now, considering their fight. But you guys don't know, J. Rock Williams was ordered to be IBF mandatory title challenger for Jamal Charlo. He's been mandatory since March. Now, the Charlo Williams fight was ordered to happen within 90 days after Charlo's victory over Austin Trout on May 21st, and that 90 days is come and gone. So we're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff relating to that right now. Let me go ahead and kick it to Bo. You got any questions you want to get off your mind and ask Breadman about this fight in limbo right now?
Yeah, okay. First of all, man, I want to say thanks for being here with us, man. We definitely appreciate you taking time out of a busy schedule to be here.
Oh man, no problem.
All right, cool. I got 2 questions, and I'm not gonna hold up too long. One, there was were you aware of the report about Charlo having an eye injury? Were you aware about that before your tweet that you put out saying the fight was off? Well, first, did you put that tweet out saying the fight was off? I want to make sure everybody knows that was really you and not just some prank.
Oh no, I don't. I'm not that important. I don't have anybody running my social media accounts.
Okay.
I did put that out. Actually, I was taking it fast. I was saying that the fight is likely gonna be off, but when I looked at it, it said it was off. So I just said, you know what? I don't care who it offends. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I feel like that it's taking too long to make the fight. I feel like that, 90 days is 90 days, and I had no idea that he asked for another extension with the eye operation, and it wasn't an injury. It was just LASIK. I don't know if you guys know, but I got LASIK before. It's not that deep. It don't put you off for 60 days. I'm keeping it real. You guys don't have to take it from me. Ask anybody with LASIK surgery. It's one of the easiest surgeries I ever had. And I had freaking cysts taken out, things like that. That ain't no a LASIK surgery is a post-op. You go in there in the morning. A couple hours later, you go home. You take some antibiotics so your eyes don't get infected. And in a couple of days, you're fine. Ask Julian. I was in the gym hitting pads the day I got it. It's not as deep as, it's not a 60-day recovery period. It ain't like it's detached retina or something like that. And if the fight was in May, if you fought Trout in May, then get your surgery, after the fight. And I'm not, here to tell nobody what to do in their personal life or things like that. But it just caught me off guard that they asked for another 60-day extension. Because whoever was talking earlier in the show, you guys know what you're talking about, because you're right. It's 90 days after he fought Austin Trout. But the one thing you didn't mention was he asked for an exemption to fight Austin Trout because Julian was the number one contender. So not only did you get an exemption to not fight Julian and fight Austin Trout, but after you get your exemption, then you ask for another 60 days so you can get this little procedure done. And all the while we're sitting here waiting. So, I don't like to say fighters are scared. I don't know what Jamal is thinking, what Jamal is not thinking. I don't like to go through all of that kind of stuff. The only thing that I know is that to make this fight is too much is going on. It's not that deep to make a fight. You guys, sometimes people look at things from the outside. When two guys want to fight and the sanctioning body orders a fight, it just seems like it's always something that's coming up to push this fight back farther and farther and farther. So, I really don't know what's going to happen. They say that the fight is on. I know the fans want to see this fight. But I know that when a lot of times when you got a guy who's making, not really making excuses, but just doing other things, you know what I'm saying, fighting other people, writing letters to ask to fight the other people, then things come up. You guys see it, injuries, and people move to different divisions. So although they're telling me that the fight is going to be on and they're going to fight a little bit later than the scheduled October 1st date, I'm still skeptical because, like I said, he didn't have to fight Austin Trout. He asked to fight Austin Trout. That's what you guys don't realize. That was a hand-picked opponent that he asked to fight and wrote a letter to the IBF saying, can I fight him before I have to fulfill my mandatory? Okay. So when that kind of stuff happens, it makes me say, damn, maybe, because people, this is a business. You do what you got to do to keep the title and make money, and if you can make, $500,000 picking your opponents, then that's what that's what a lot of guys do. So I don't know. I'm not saying it to insult the guy or saying, he's scared of Julian. He's bigger than Julian. They say he punch harder than Julian. So I don't know what it is. I just know that we sit in limbo consistently and we wait and wait and wait and we never get a date or anything final saying or anything solid saying we're going to fight you. And what I do know is that when it was time for him to defend against Wilkie Camford, you guys know that was an easy fight to make. Oh, yeah. Beat K9 in September, fought Camford in November. That was easy. When it was time for him to fight Trout, okay, let me write a letter to the IBF and I'll go ahead and fight Trout. That was an easy fight to make. Now when it's up to Julian, it's the location and Charlo and Julian is worth millions and I gotta get an eye surgery. It's all these different things that's coming up. You know what I mean? So I really, they say the fight's on, but I'm still in limbo, to be honest with you. As far as me personally thinking that if the fight is going to happen, I'm losing a little bit of faith that the fight is going to happen. I'm wishing for the best, but, the eye surgery, I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know.
I know you hate to have J-Rock sitting this long. It's turning into an activity period for him, and I know you would have liked to keep him active.
And that's something that's really, really, he's never collected rust. Ever in his career, I've never seen him look rusty. But, there's a first time for everything, and it's just not something that you want. If I knew that he would have to wait this long to get the mandatory, what I would have did was I would have asked the IBF, can we take a stay busy fight, to be honest with you. I would have asked him. I think that would have been fair. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have had him waiting more than 6 months to fight this guy. And I know Julian became the mandatory March the 5th, so the first thing I would have did was if it was anything past September, I would have said, you know what, let us take a stay busy fight, even if it's not for a lot of money, just to have him just be in the ring, you know. But now it's too late. We can't do it now, you know. I actually tried. I called the IBF today, and I asked them, and they told me, you know, they sorry, but they want this fight to go on, and if the fight don't go on, you know, if there's any more problems, they're going to strip them. But, you know, we gotta, we can't do nothing now. We got to sit tight and just train and fight. But you know what, man? Don't worry about it. The only thing that's going to do is make the beating worse. That's all. Only thing it's doing is making Julian, you know, more focused. And you know, and when they get in the ring, y'all gonna see why this fight took so long to get made.
All right, and just to clarify for our listeners out there about the medical extension that Charlo was given because of the LASIK surgery, he was given 60 days for the extension, and that will be up come September 8th. After that, they have 15 days to come to an agreement. And if that doesn't happen, the likelihood that doesn't occur, then they'll go to purse bid from there. But with both of them being under the PBC banner, I don't see any reason why it really needs to go to purse bid. But I kind of understand where Breadman is coming from with this gesturing and posturing from Charlo, talking about it's $1 million fight and all that. That definitely seems like something that's going to lead to a purse bid and ultimately delay the fight from happening even longer. Let me go ahead and pass it over to my man, Big Cool. You done an interview with him before, with Breadman before. Anything you'd like to get out there and ask him?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for, you know, taking time out of your busy schedule, as both said, to join us. We really appreciate it. My question is just, how has training camp, I'm assuming, has Julian been training for this fight? Because you said neither one of you knew about the injury. So how has training camp been going? And has anything been different for this camp?
Actually, what happened was in July, we just started training because we originally thought that the fight would be sometime towards the end of the summer. And, you know, guys that rush are guys that just, they don't go in the gym unless they have a fight on the books. You know what I mean? So, but Julian, he don't have a job. This is his only job. So it's his job to stay in shape and be in the gym. So we're in the gym every day. We up early in the morning. We running because that's what he's supposed to be doing regardless. We did start sparring about 2 weeks ago just to stay sharp. It was nothing heavy, but, you know, we just had a couple of kids. We paid them a couple bucks just to come in, you know, twice a week just so he could just start hitting the body because it gets a little monotonous to hit pads and stuff. But he's been looking great. You know, we're going to scale back since we just found out, because I just found out on Monday that they asked for a 60-day extension. So we're going to scale back slightly as far as the sparring, but we still going to stay in shape. We still going to do things. There's always something that you could do to get better. He's only 26 years old. You know, he's only 22-0, so it's still things he could work on and get better. And when you stay in shape like that and stay in the gym, it keeps you sharp. It keeps you clicking. You know what I mean? When you see guys that don't get no better, it's because they only go in the gym when they have a fight on the books. And the first 2 weeks of camp, I don't know if you guys ever try to work out, but, man, the first 2 weeks when you're working out, you feel like crap. So imagine if you're a professional fighter and you got an 8-week camp. The first 2 weeks is going to be terrible for you. And then the next 5 weeks, you know, you start getting in shape. But the last week of camp, you taper off and you fight. So, you know, it's kind of counterproductive to stay out the gym. So we've been in the gym. You know, it's hot. You know, the heat's brutal. We've been running, doing everything we need to do. So, you know, if to have him rusty and have him lay out for a few months, extra months, if that was the plan, which I don't know it is, but if that was the plan, it's not going to work because he's going to be in shape and he's not going to overtrain. He's going to do things that he needs to do to stay in shape and be sharp on fight night.
Okay, I'm glad you put that out there because that was something I was going to ask. Do you have any concerns about the overtraining or not? But it seems like you got that pretty much
No, not one bit. we monitor everything he does. We write it down, we chart it, and overtraining is never an issue. You know what I mean? He's gonna be right. You know, trust me when I tell you he's gonna be right for this fight, and he's looking forward to it, and he's very confident, man. He's always told me that he's gonna knock Jamal out. Always said it from the first time they ever fought on the same card. He's always told me, said, man, he's a good fighter, but he cannot beat me. And, you know, he's not the most talkative kid in the world, but, you know, he's very confident. So you guys are going to see. I hope y'all bet on him, man, because if you don't, you're going to lose your money. He's going to win this fight. I'm telling you guys, y'all mark this down. He's going to win this fight going away, and it ain't going to be as tight as everybody thinks it's going to be.
All right, let me pass it over to 2K. You got anything you'd like to throw to him?
Hey, what's good, man? This is 2K the guy from the Guys of Boxing Talk, man. I want to say we appreciate you on the show, boss. Man, you said a couple of things, man. First things first, if this fight does not happen, something happens, you know, Charlo feels like he don't want to fight, you know, J-Rock for whatever reason. 154 is a killer division, man, and you already said that J-Rock is a guy that stays in shape year-round. So you got a lot of cats out there. I know you wanted to get that belt, but you got the twin brother. You got Erislandy Lara. You got the winner Canelo Leon Smith. Canelo's a guy that I really want to see him in a fight with a credible guy at 154 instead of fighting smaller guys or going up and vacating titles and shit. I think J-Rock would murk Canelo. that's a fight that I would really want to see. Who else is out there for you guys, Vanez, Martirosyan, etc., if this fight doesn't go down?
Well, Julian wants to be a world champion. He's not so obsessed with fighting Charlo. He wants to be a world champion, you know. Philadelphia is a big city. We've had a lot of world champions, but we've never had a world champion from the part of Philadelphia that we were born in, which is West Philadelphia. So he is very, very eager to become a world champion. And the IBF just happened to offer him a number one spot. You know, people don't realize this, but what happened last year, there was a eliminator order by the IBF between Michel Soro, the Frenchman who knocked out Glenn Tapia. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he can actually fight. He got a draw on Antoine Douglas, okay? And Austin Trout. So Austin Trout turned that fight down, and then Julian, they called me and was like, would y'all fight Michel Soro? And I was like, man, listen, I don't got to hide this kid from nobody. Let's roll. Right. Now, Michel Soro can bump. You know what I mean? He can fight. But, you know, he wanted to be a world champion. And I said, dog, you might got to fight Michel Soro. He said, cool, I'm with it. Michel Soro turned the fight down. So what happened is with an eliminator, you just start going right through the rankings. And just so happened that Italian kid that he beat was the guy, you know. So I'm only saying that to tell you, give you guys some clarity on how he became the number one contender. We don't, he's not obsessed with fighting Jamal. He just always believed he can beat him.
Right.
The next guy down the list is Tony Harrison. So before we would explore any of those names, we would fight Tony Harrison if something was to happen with Jamal, and then we would fight him for the vacant title if that title happens to have to be vacant. And then after that, you know, it don't matter to me, man. Julian's not a kid that I gotta get into who he's fighting and all that kind of stuff. Only thing I have to give him is the time and the date, and you know, and that's just that. We don't gotta get into all of that kind of stuff like would you fight him, and you know, we don't have. It's not that kind of party over here. So we would love to fight Canelo. I think Julian will school him also. He wants to unify against the twin brother, Lara. That name keeps getting brought up whenever somebody say like Jamal, like he's the big brother bodyguard. I don't care about Julian fighting Lara either, to be honest with you. You know, Lara is a good fighter, but anybody that Alfredo Angulo could win 4 or 5 rounds from, I don't have to hide my kid from. You know what I mean? So
good point.
He's a good fighter, but he ain't the boogeyman. You know what I mean? So I'll fight Lara too. That's no big deal. You know what I mean? He's a good fighter, good amateur. You know, after we win this title, we can see who wants to unify and who wants to do what. And there's some good up and coming contenders. And Julian's not opposed to fighting guys at 60 either. You know what I mean? We'll go back and forth. You know, he wants to break the title defense record at 154, but we're here to make some money, man. You know, we're not going to be these guys that's just sitting around. He don't want to fight till he's 40 in his late 30s and all that kind of stuff. He want to be out the game. He got a young child. So, you know, we gonna rumble. He's 26 now. Trust me when I tell you, when he win this fight, we're going to try to get big for dudes that's coming up from 47. It's an open door policy that way also. I mean, he can't make 47, so I'm not going to, you know, say anything with my mouth that, you know, my actions can't cash. He can't make 47, but he is willing to, you know, compromise a couple pounds and fight some dudes down there also. You know, the kid just want to fight, and he just want to just get an opportunity, and it's a shame that we got to go through this kind of stuff just to get fight, you know, and it's not the first time. So he's seasoned in that way, you know what I mean? It just makes him meaner, it makes him more focused, and it just, you know, it fuels him, you know what I mean? Because he has a unique fuel. He loves it when people are against him. He loves it to think that, you know what I mean? That's just how some people are wired, and that's how he's wired. He don't like a lot of, you know, congratulations and nice talk and you're the best and all that. He wants to hear Jamal's going to beat you and, you know, Canelo will kick your ass and, you know, you're not that good and stuff. That kind of shit turns him on. So today he saw the site where it said that Jamal will be the slight favorite in the fight, and he loved that. He wants to be the big underdog in the fight because he just knows he's going to win. And in his heart, he feels that he's just a better fighter. It's just that Jamal has had different opportunities than he's had, and he's had the opportunity to fight for a world title earlier, a little bit earlier, and things like that. But, you know, opportunity and ability are two different things. So we'll see. Hopefully something will come about, and they can fight in November, maybe December, and we'll see.
Okay, that's my last one.
Oh, go ahead, TK.
Yeah, this is my last one, Twan, and I'm gonna let you have it. It's something that you said earlier, man, and I gotta applaud you on it, man. And Angel Garcia, Danny Garcia's father, I did a video on him basically admitting to Fight Hype what you said earlier when you answered Bo's question about how a fighter's team can make $500,000 or more by picking and choosing their opponents. Well, Danny Garcia's father actually came out and said, hey, why would we fight Keith Thurman when we could fight a Rod Souther? You know what I'm saying? So I want to applaud you guys, you and J-Rock, J-Rock's team. I don't hear any bullshit coming from y'all talking about like Frampton is doing to Guillermo Rigondeaux. Oh, I don't want to fight him because he's too boring. Or I don't want to fight this guy because he don't bring money to the table. All these bullshit-ass excuses like Danny Jacobs brings about Triple G. I don't hear that from none of y'all's camp. You know what I'm saying? So I want to applaud y'all for that. And at the same time, what do you think about that? Because earlier you did say you don't think any fighter's scared of another fighter, but we're hearing a lot of excuses in today's boxing that we didn't hear in boxing back in the day. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not going to say any fighter's not scared of another fighter. What I don't want to say is that Jamal is not. I don't know if Jamal is scared of Julian. You know,
gotcha.
I don't want to be a mind reader and say that. But there are fighters who avoid fights.
Gotcha.
I'm a big fan of Danny Garcia, so I'm never going to say nothing. Danny Garcia actually helped Julian get signed without Heyman, so I'm never going to say nothing negative about him. But all I can say is to each his own. You know, people do things for certain reasons. You know, I mean, this is going to sound a little bit arrogant, but I know I got the best guy, so I don't have to avoid nobody. That's the only way that I can put it. You know, maybe Frampton don't believe he could beat Rigondeaux. I don't know. I can't get into his mind and all that kind of stuff. But I don't got to do that shit with Julian. I don't. Right. I've seen him ever since he was a teenager. Don't matter. He could spar the Twins. He could spar Mike Jones. You know, I took him down there, believe it or not. We sparred Bernard. I sent Julian to camp. He was a 1-0, 154-pounder to Alan Green's camp when he was getting ready to box in the Super 6. And Alan Green, let me tell you something. He's throwing heat, brother. He's a 68-pounder.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't got to do that with this kid. I don't care. It don't matter with him. You know what I mean? He's a different kind of dude when it comes down to that kind of stuff. He really don't care who he got to fight. You know, it's guys that act a certain kind of way. And I will say this. We not in no privileged position.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we don't have the choice to pick and choose. You know what I mean? So, listen, I know that Austin Trout is a tricky southpaw, but I knew that Julian would have to be willing to fight a dude like that to get on. You know what I'm saying? I know that Michelle Sorrow can bump, but I know that he got to fight a dude like that to get on. You know what I mean? So sometimes people do things like that because they afforded that luxury. I'm not afforded that luxury with him. He has to fight. Listen, Jamal ain't no easy fight. Dude's 6 foot. He knocking everybody out. He big as shit. He's not no easy fight. It's not like I'm picking an interim titleist and sliding him in there and getting the easiest guy. It's people that think Jamal going to kick Julian ass. But when you got the best guy, you don't have to walk around picking and choosing like that. You just believe in your guy and you just say, you know, let the chips fall where they may. And you know what? If the shit don't work out and he bump his head and he lose, we're just going to have to live with it. But at least we better look at ourselves in the eye and say we challenged the best guy and we challenged ourselves. I don't try to get into all of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because when you do that, you show a lack of confidence in your fighter. And I don't have a lack of confidence in him. I believe that he's the best. So when I get a call, you know, yes, okay, come on, yes. You know what I mean? I don't get into that. You know what I mean? Because I've seen him. I've seen him do some things that you probably guys may not have seen in the ring, but I've seen him do some things, and I just be like, damn, boy, if the public knew this, man. I mean, a lot of people saying he gonna beat Jamal, and there's people saying that Jamal gonna beat him. But if y'all seen the Julian that I know, I'm telling you, you bet your income tax on Julian. I'm telling you, you know what I mean. So you don't gotta when you're the best, you don't have to worry about that kind of nonsense, man. You really don't. You just line up guys and you fight. When you got a kid with natural ability that can take a punch and that can fight in the style that he needs to fight, a real number one contender versus a real champion is what you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? And it's a little different. I think that this fight is a little different from Jamal because his first 2 title defenses was hand-picked guys. It's a little different when they tell you, you have to fight this killer right here. It's almost like being in the Super 6 where there's no matchmaking involved. It's a real fight. It's not a hand-picked guy where I'm not going to say it's a set-up fight because you still got to win the fight at the end of the day, but it's different. You know what I mean? Crawford and Postal, Crawford dominated him, but that's a real fight. You know what I'm saying? It's people that thought Postal was going to win. You know what I mean? It's a little different when you can pick a guy out of a lineup and say, I want that guy because I know his style match mine's up a little bit. You know what I mean? I know he's going to make me look good. So I think that, you know, it's a business at the end of the day, you know, and if we get in a privileged position, you guys may call me next year and say, well, damn, Brad, you took this guy but didn't take that guy. It's a lot of things that go into that. So that's why I'm very careful about criticizing different guys because Danny fought Matisse and Khan when he was a pup, and people seem to forget that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I know Danny ain't scared to fight nobody. But sometimes when your team and people around you and they may guide you in a different direction for whatever reason, because trainers know who give they fighters problems and who won't. You know what I'm saying? Everybody know that. I'm not going to tell y'all out in the open who will give Julian problems, but I know who's a tougher fight for him and who's not. So trainers, you know, sometimes, you know, self-preservation kicks in at certain points. You know, and ain't nobody going to fight Regendial. You can forget that. He's too damn good.
That boy good,
you know what I mean? Ain't nobody fighting him, man. He's too good.
Hold on. I got to jump in. Can you say that one more time, please? Ain't nobody going to fight him?
Ain't nobody fighting him, man. That dude is so gifted, man. You're not going to get no fights. The only person I think that will fight him is Lomachenko, and he's too big now. He moved up to 30. You know what I mean? That's the only person that I think will go anywhere near that killer, man. Ain't nobody fighting that dude, man. He's too talented. You can't even hit him with the pads in the gym.
Yeah, word.
You can't.
We got some
man.
callers. We got some callers on the line that want to ask you some questions. So let me go ahead and throw mine out there for you. First and foremost, you guys happen to be in one of the deepest divisions right now. Me and Bo did a video on 154, and it's actually going to be the highlight division of our show tonight. With that said, you made a tweet recently about, I guess you said, man, this era of boxing is terrible. I just wanted to give you a chance to elaborate on that, and also what about it that you don't really like and what needs to be improved or changed with this era of boxing?
It's a lot of things. I don't want to take up all your time. One is the PED testing. I hate the sham that the PED testing is, you know, you got to be careful with accusing somebody of being on drugs, but you could just tell, like, you know, a dude's career is halfway over, right? He's getting knocked out or he's slowing down, and then he's in his mid to late 30s, and he just turns his career around and look like he didn't jumped in a time machine and looks like he's 25. Come on. You know what I mean? And then where you see a guy that's like an average talent and he's better at 38 than he was at 28. It's ridiculous, you know. And then you see the judges score a bad fight and then get right on another fight. How does that happen? How come you don't have to explain yourself on why you turned in those scorecards? You know?
Agreed.
Right. And then, you know, it's a business and there's always matchmaking involved, and I'm not going to lie to you guys and say that it's not. But I think that it gets overdone at a certain point. You know what I mean? It's overdone. I heard y'all talking about the WBA champion. There's too many champions over there, man. Come on, man. Damn. Yeah. You know what I mean?
WBC is looking like that right now, too. WBC got the same issue going.
Yeah, you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to like soil the game, man. As a purist, you just want to see you just want to see a real guy be a champion, and you don't want to look up and the guy walking around talking about he's a world champion, but it's 3 world champions of the same organization in the same weight class. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Golovkin is the WBA champion at 160. Period. End of story. You know, all of the other, come on, y'all not the champion when he walking around there and he the baddest dude on the block, and he got the sanctioning body belt. So, I mean, it's just a lot of things that, you know, they just get on your nerves, you know, when you're looking at it from a purist perspective, because you just want to see real things happen and not everything just be based on business and connections and things like that.
Agreed. We got, Carpenter on the line. Any questions you want to throw out there for Breadman?
Hello.
Yeah. You're on, buddy. Anything you want to ask? What's good?
Hey, Breadman.
Hey, how you doing?
It's a pleasure talking to you, man. I want to give you props for the way you're handling Julian. J-Rock. Me, personally, I believe he's the best at 154. I don't think anybody can beat him. But my question for you is, when I see him fight right now, and I watch him fight, I feel like he's holding back. That he could be, his kill drive is a lot more aggressive than he lets people see. Because I've seen him do, to me, he's like a subtle beast. I've seen him do things on the sneak, on the low, that hurts other guys, but a lot of people don't see it. And in my personal opinion, when he does get his fight, you know, maybe Charlo, you know what I mean, or whoever, I personally think the real J-Rock is going to shine. How do you feel about that?
That's a great observation. If you guys look on YouTube, look at the Michael Medina fight. I think that's maybe his best career performance. He's kind of like a violent scientist. And I can't really disclose certain things right now, but he's had some injuries that he's had to fight with, right? So what I do is I kind of don't let him go full blast. The only time he's ever really went full blast is when he fought that guy Luciano Coelho. Do you remember that fight? We knocked him out in the first round and they called out. Somebody pissed him off that night before we got to the ring, though. So it was hard to really control him. He was pissed off. but I don't really want him fighting like that, to be honest with you, in a 12-round fight, because what if the guy kind of get out their early storm? Then you got to kind of get yourself together. You know what I mean? As an amateur, he was very, very violent and reckless like that. And if you look at his box rec, his first 3 fights was first-round knockouts in his first 3 professional fights. But I try to just calm him down for this point in his life. You know what I mean? I know he got it in him, and I'm glad that you said that, because he does. It's not that he's holding back. It's called going through his progressions. So we work a certain thing in a certain fight. And like I said, I can't really give up the game plan and why we do that, but I do that for a reason. And then as the fight goes on, we catch a rhythm. We catch a shot. We call it catching a shot, like a punch that we've been working on camp to land on that particular opponent. And then more than likely, around the 6th or 7th round, the dude is beat up in a subtle way, and he just knocks him out. You know what I mean? And he kind of does it over and over again. It's not a mistake that he's doing it, but it's not really holding back. He's just catching his rhythm, and he's going through his progressions, and he's a very cerebral fighter, and he listens to what I tell him to. And then if I tell him to go out and try to knock the guy out in the first round, it'll look like the Quelo fight, you know what I mean, where he told me in the dressing room, like, I'm going to just knock him out in the first round. And I said, go ahead. You know what I mean? And he just jumped on his ass. But usually I don't allow him to do that. But, I mean, I might do that in this fight right here because, you know, it depends on how you feel and how you look in camp. You know what I mean? And it's really funny that you said that, because if people describe him, and I did this on purpose, I always want his style to always be different in somebody else's eyes. So you'll hear some people say he's a boxer. Some people say he's a puncher. Some people say he fights on the inside. Some people say he fights on the outside. I want them to think that, you know what I mean? Because actually, he don't really have a style. He can be whatever he has to be in a boxing ring. But I think he's going to shine on this big stage, too, because he got a lot of layers to his game that a lot of people haven't seen.
But he shows them in spots, though, like throughout the rounds. He'll do little things like a parry and a quick counter. You know what I mean? Like, commentators won't really say nothing and they won't really notice it, but he does it.
A lot of them probably don't know what that shit is, bro.
Yeah, true.
The trained
what he's doing work is, you know, with his feet, he's real smooth on his feet. You know what I'm saying? While people are watching his hands, and I'm watching his feet, and he'll be right beside you, landing body shots, and dude never sees him coming. Because they're focused on his eye level. And these
he does a lot of old school subtle stuff, man.
Well, these are things I feel that when he does get in the ring with Charlo's, I don't want to say he's one-dimensional, but he's just he's got a forward style, and I think that Julian is more well-rounded. I think Julian is going to get that W.
He is.
I think you're going to see a few different versions of Julian that night that are going to shock people.
I want to thank you for calling in, Carpenter. Thanks for your comment, man. We got a couple other more on the line. You know, funny thing, I interviewed you and J-Rock in Vegas the weekend of that Lara Martirosyan fight, and you actually predicted a lot of this stuff, and you told me directly, if he didn't look that impressive against Trout, he's going to do everything possible to get this fight lagging or possibly get out of it. And, you know, it's coming to fruition now. We got a call from Southern California on the line. Anything you want to ask Breadman? Southern California on the line? All right, I guess not. Fellas, you got anything you want to ask before I get out a couple more questions? I don't want to take up too much of Breadman's time. You know, we got a show to go on. Anything else you guys want to ask him?
Yeah, I got just one more question, man. You saw when Canelo picked Khan and now we got Brooks fighting 3G. How does it make you feel knowing that they're picking guys one weight class below you? And because I already know that from listening to you talk that if you'd have got that phone call, your guy would have took either one of them dudes.
Oh, man. You know what? I don't really give Triple G too much flack because the guys at 160, they just don't want to fight him. You know, so I got to be fair with him, man. You know, I know a lot of things, and dudes don't want to fight that guy, man. As far as Canelo, Canelo done fought some tough guys. He just don't want to fight Triple G. So, you know what I mean? I mean, you can't argue with it. I mean, Canelo's not that old. He's done fought Lowry, he done fought Trout. He signed to fight Paul Williams. He fought Floyd. You know, he didn't fought his share of tough guys. He just don't want to go nowhere Triple G, so he had to squeeze back down to 54. It don't really make me feel no kind of way, man. I ain't no hater, man. You know, my guy hasn't even got a title shot yet. You know, them guys do what they do. But they shit don't make us eat. I mean, what they eat don't make us shit. You know what I mean? It ain't none of my business, you know. I don't get the call. If I get the call, we get it. You know, Julian got to put himself in a position. Hopefully, Kell Brook don't go back down to 47. He stop at 54 if he loses this fight. And we get some work with him. Hopefully, one day him and Canelo can bump. And, you know, we move up to 60. We're not going to be shy about Triple G. I know he's a tough fight and he's a great fighter. But, you know, it's boxing, and when you get in the guy's division and they call your number, you got to take that call, you know. So
yes, sir.
I don't really get into all of that, man, because boxing is a business, and that's not really our business right now with Canelo and with Triple G and them guys are doing. I respect Abel Sanchez. He's a real nice guy. He actually worked the corner against me when Julian fought Michael Medina, and he was really, really gracious. He talked to us after the fight, so. Whatever, man. You know what I mean? I worry about the guys that I train and the guys that I fight. That's all I can worry about, man. I got enough shit going on here to figure out when we going to fight Charlo to be worrying about somebody else's fight, you know?
I got a question. It's not about, you know, J-Rock. It's about Ward and Kovalev finally being finalized. I guess, you know, I think it was always finalized. But anyway, since it's official, could you give us like an early breakdown on how you see that fight playing out?
Oh, man.
Just right now?
You asking me that in my mailbag. I think that Ward hasn't, all right, how can I put this? Speed is in the body and quickness is in the mind. So when you see somebody that's fast, just because you're fast, that doesn't mean you're quick. Quickness is your ability to process something and then react to it. You know, speed is just the ability to produce rapid motion. So, okay, so I'll show you an example of that. One of my favorite fighters, Melzick Taylor, was from Philly. He was fast, right?
Yep.
But Pernell Whitaker was quick.
Quick.
So you look at Pernell Whitaker. If you look at Pernell Whitaker and Melzick Taylor, you like, damn, Melzick is faster than him. But Pernell Whitaker can process what's going on. He can take less punishment, and he can land the cleaner shots. If you look at Shane Mosley and Floyd, or Zab Judah and Floyd, they might be a little faster than Floyd, but they not quicker than Floyd. They mind don't think it's fast. Mm-hmm. Andre Ward has a quick mind. He got the ability to really, really process what's going on and do things in a fight that's always productive to him winning. And he's really not a dominant offensive fighter if you look at him. He don't really knock nobody out. He don't really have a good right. I'm not going to say a good right hand. He don't use his right hand that often. He's a predominantly uses his jab and the little quick hook. But for some reason, nobody can seem to be able to solve the puzzle. So I lean towards Ward, but I'm really, really impressed with Kovalev. A lot of guys always draw the race line and, think that the black guy's always going to win. Trust me when I tell you, I ain't picking Ward because of that. You know what I mean? I'm picking Ward because I just believe that his mind and his ability to process might be a step ahead of Kovalev, but this is a real fight. Kovalev is the best straight body puncher I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen nobody knock nobody out with a jab to the body. I've never seen that ever in my life. I haven't seen that on footage. I've never seen it nowhere. He knocked that dude Agnew out with a jab to the body.
Cedric Agnew. We was actually talking about this fight earlier.
Yeah. Never seen that before, man. So Kovalev also covers a lot of ground in his steps. He's only 6 foot. Him and Ward about the same height. But he can cover a lot of ground when he's moving forwards and backwards. He also, I watch his fights, and he may lose the first round or get caught with a couple punches, but he catches the other guy's rhythm extremely fast. If you look at his fight with Ismail Salak, or when he won the title from Cleverly, those guys had pretty decent first rounds. But it's something that happens with him where he catches your rhythm and then the fight is over with. And he looks like he has the ability to jab with Ward. And they, as the saying goes, you don't hook with a hooker, but you jab with a jabber. And if he can jab with Ward, we're going to have a tough night. Because every time he starts jabbing, what he starts doing is he starts landing his right hand, catches the rhythm for that. So I favor Ward 51-49. But I think he's going to have to fight the fight of his life. Kovalev punches different. When he hits you, man, even the people that he don't stop, since he's been on the big stage, he's only didn't stop 2 people. But he's knocking them down and he's hurting them and he's putting them in the retreat mode. Isaac Chilemba and Bernard are the only guys he hasn't stopped since we've started getting to see him fight. But in both of those fights, he starts beating on you in a different kind of way where you stop trying to win and you start trying to survive. So that
Bernard said his jab was just as strong as his right.
I talked to Bernard after the fight, and he told me that he was, that the power was something that he never felt before. He said he was hitting him in his arm. When I seen him, he couldn't even really move his arm. So, he Ward got a fight on his hands, man. He got a real fight. I think Ward is going to edge a decision, but that's my prediction. Until I see otherwise, then that's what I got to roll with Ward because I know more about him, and he always finds a way to win. But man, he got to fight. This kid's jab, the way he punched straight. The only thing that scares me about Kovalev is his balance is off. If y'all ever notice how many times he slips his canvas during fighting, it's the weirdest thing that I've ever seen. I honestly don't think he take the best shot in the world. Even though we ain't seen him hurt or nothing, something just, my guts just tell me he don't take the best shot. He's always falling or slipping. I don't know if he drink outside of the ring. It's the weirdest thing in the world, man. But if you look at his fight, he's always slipping to the canvas, man.
Well, you've seen that against Blake Caparella when he landed that overhand right that knocked him down. I mean, it
flipped in his last fight against Isaac Chilemba. He was on the ground. I've never seen a fight of his where he didn't fall and the referee have to help him up. It's weird as shit. You know what I mean? I don't know there's something off there, man. You're not supposed to slip like that.
Yeah.
But favor Ward, man. But man, this is gonna be a great fight.
Let me ask you something real fast, Breadman. This is kind of something I want to touch on. PBC Al Heyman has been the subject of a lot of ridicule, criticism. With your experiences with him, what are some of the things you can tell us about Al Heyman that the public doesn't necessarily know, after being criticized by the public media, mainstream media at that for some reason? Is there anything that you can tell us about your experiences that we don't know that could give us a better understanding of this mystery of a man that seems to be in control of boxing right now and doing everything in the favor of the fighters?
You know what, man? I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to make it brief, and I'm only going to make it brief out of respect for Al because he don't like people talking about him and stuff. But he's the coolest guy in the world if you ever met him. Talks just like us. And I'm going to leave this here. You never see fighters leaving them. You always see fighters going for them.
Yep.
So y'all can think about that and y'all can rationalize it and figure it out and figure out why. But I'll say it again. You only see fighters coming to them. You don't see fighters leaving them. And there's a reason for that. And I'll just leave it at that because, like I say, he don't really, that's just not his style. You don't like people talking about him and knowing about him. It's part of, everybody has their thing, and that's just his makeup.
I definitely appreciate your perspective on that. Another thing I wanted to ask you about is your commentary you've done on TV with TBC. You and J-Rock, we've seen you on some telecast doing that. I've noticed the ebb and flow between you guys on the telecast, you know, kind of like the student and the teacher. You know, he may come back with some dialogue, and you come back and correct him and say this and that, just to give him a lesson, I want to know, are your training camps like that? Is it the same kind of ebb and flow, or is J-Rock more of all ears, all listening when it's time for training?
It depends on how close we are to the fight. He has his mind, he may, he'll make suggestions as far as what moves he's comfortable with and how he wants to do a fight and how he wants to play a fight out. And then, ultimately I got the last say, but, he has, he'll suggest certain things and I'll say, okay, let's try it your way. He's a student in the game and he's the one in there taking the punches. So I'm definitely, it'll be counterproductive if I didn't listen to him. You know what I mean? But as it gets close to the fight, he starts honing in and, it's not a lot of dialogue back and forth. The closer we get to a fight, we don't really, it's basically, he's in a different kind of mode. He's losing weight, so nobody's happy when he's losing weight. So it's basically, I'll tell him what to do and he'll do it. But we definitely have an open camp, He's not a robot. He's not an animal, you know what I mean? He has his own mind and he's actually very knowledgeable about boxing. So he'll make suggestions and, like I said, in the Luciano Cuello fight, he told me that he wanted to knock him out in the first round. I never tell him to do stuff like that. And he just showed the world that he can just fight in like a blitz type of form, you know what I mean, without showing the usual patience and stuff that he normally does, So we definitely got a lot of communication and a lot of, I want to throw my hook this way or I want to go to my right this round. I want to go to my left. He's definitely open for that kind of stuff. If he had more patience, he'd be a good trainer one day.
That's interesting to know about him. Okay. Bo, 2K, Big Cool, you guys got any other questions you'd like to ask him? I got one more, but I'll go ahead and give it to you guys.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good.
I just wanted to ask, are there any other prospects that we should be on the lookout for under your wing right now that we need to be checking out for and keeping our eye on as prospects?
Yeah, man, I got a kid named Karan Davis. He's 10-1. The one fight that he lost, it was a pretty controversial fight, but he's really, really good. He won nationals 3 times. He's moving down to 154. He's real good, so you guys keep an eye out on him. That's Kyron, Kyrone, Davis. He's a really, really talented fighter, man, and hopefully, he gets to break through at the end of this year or next year, and you guys will see what I'm talking about.
All right, Breadman. We definitely want to thank you for your time out. We don't want to take up your whole night, man, but we appreciate you coming on, a fresh podcast, and appreciate you blessing us with love and doing this interview with us, man.
No problem, man. Anytime, man. Hopefully, next month I'll have some good news for you guys about the date of this fight.
Okay, man. You have a good one.
Yep.
All right, fellas. We got some other topics to go into. That was definitely a good interview with Breadman. He definitely broke bread and left a lot of knowledge with us, So I'm definitely appreciative of him coming on, man. With that said, our divisional spotlight for tonight was the 154-pound division. So, fellas, let's go ahead and get this breakdown of the division going. I'll start with you, 2K.
Man, 154-pound division to me is the best division in boxing right now. I mean, outside of, you got Jamal, Charlo, you got Ersan Lara. My favorite fighter at 154, which is Demetrius Andrade. You got Vanez Martirosyan, Austin Trout, Canelo. He's there, and then he's out, and then he's back again. Who fucking knows with him? But outside of all them cats, man, you got, Jack Koke, who is the WBA regular champion. Demetrius Andrade will be taking his belt sometime this year. And then you got, Erickson Lubin, who's a highly touted prospect right now.
Definitely expect a lot from him.
Exactly. Honestly, to be honest with you, I think Erickson Lubin is ready right now. But they're gonna bring him slower. They're gonna bring him along slowly. But I think he's ready right now, man. He's nice. They got Tony Harrison, as we just talked about with Breadman. Willie Nelson, even though Demetrius Andrade dominated him, Willie Nelson is still a good fighter. You got another prospect in Jared Hurd, from Baltimore.
Swift.
Yep, that boy is nice. And then you got another cat that a lot of people don't know. He's a cat from Kazakhstan, man. His name is Kanat Islam. He's 21-0 with 18 knockouts. He's nice. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I'm not even naming everybody, B. Like it's definitely
one of the deepest divisions. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me get your take on this, Bo. At the end of the day, who do you think is the top dude at 154? What's your opinion on that?
Oh, man, listen. 2K said it all. I even want to introduce everybody to a guy. I did a video on him, Terrell Gasha. He's he's another cat coming up through the ranks, But right now, the man is Lauder. Now, Lauder is the man right now at 150. I mean,
does that have anything to do with him being from Cuba? Just go on.
Oh, he's from Cuba.
He already admitted on the first podcast that he's biased.
I didn't know Anthony Lauder is from Cuba. I didn't know that, man. I thought he was from the south side of Chicago. But Lauder has been in there with some, with the best competition. There's arguments that he beat both Canelo and Paul Williams. So, but right now, he's the man. But like 2K just said, you got some dudes that's coming for that title. And the great thing about all of this at 154 is these rivalries and these guys we talking about now, this can carry on up until 160, hell, even 168. So we could be talking about these dudes and these rivalries for a minute. But 154 right now, if I had to pick a top dude, only because of the level of competition he's been in and his resume, I'd go with Lauder. But that can see the thing about this division, that can change overnight. Like that could change overnight. J-Rock could fight Charlo and be both the Charlo boys in 1 year. He's the top dog. I mean, that could change overnight, man.
Yeah.
All right, big cool. What's your take on the 154 division? Give us your synopsis. Who's the best? What you think of it, man?
Man, Demetrius Andrade, that's my guy, man. That's
my guy too.
He the best. He the best. There's no disrespect to anybody. Because there's a lot. He the best in my opinion. I think he'll beat Laura. It's gonna be easy. But what he did.
Wait a minute. Let me say, we talked about that, and Twine, you remember I even said that Andrade could beat Lauder.
Yeah.
Man, the way he dominated Willie Nelson, man, was just a thing of beauty. He had he was at a significant, height disadvantage. I think he was 4 inches shorter than Nelson, and he just broke him down. And it was just a display that we all been wanting to see from Andrade against a caliber opponent Nelson was, man. It's just, he got it all. He got the power, got the speed, got the boxing skills. He can't be sloppy at times with his footwork, but he's my favorite fighter probably today. I think he's the best. I want to see him face everybody. I just think that he's the best, and I think he will prove it once the other upper echelon junior middleweights sign the dotted line. But you can't forget about John Jackson either, the guy who was dominating Jamel in their fight before he just had a brain fart and just cost himself the title. Like, I'm mad at him. I'm mad for him because I don't think he was in danger of really getting, hurt and knocked out, but he made a mistake and he had to, live with it. But he's a very good fighter, man. I didn't expect him to come out.
The thing about both of those Jackson fighters, Julian and John, they're exceptionally skilled. Like, they got good skill sets. It's just that hereditary chin that you got to think about. But John is actually, he's a good ass boxer, man. Like, he was winning handily against Andy Lee. He was winning handily against Jermell. You know, those kind of things happen in fights. When all it takes is one punch to change it. But he has a beautiful skill set. His length, his size. Like I actually felt bad for him after that fight as well.
Me too. I don't think John's chin is as bad as his brothers or his dad. I just think anybody. Look what Lee did to Quillen. He put him down. So Lee's power is definitely more than legit. He can drop anybody.
One punch.
Yeah, punch power.
Yeah. So and like I said, against Jermell, he just had a brain fart, man. You can't turn your back in that ring, or the referee gonna assume that you basically.
Well, he got hit in one of the three spots that knocked you out, and that's what happened with John. He got hit. He got hit in one of the three spots that knocked you out: the temple, the earlobe, where the jaw connects, or the liver. And he got hit right on the temple.
He said he got poked in the eye, though. Didn't he say he got poked in the eye?
Yeah, he said it was he got hit in the eye, but he was adjusting his mouthpiece and all kind of stuff. So it was a lot going on in that little 2 seconds.
It didn't seem like a temple shot. You know what I'm saying? It didn't seem like a temple shot. Because I didn't see people get hit. But you might be right, Bo. But he did say that he was conscious and clear. He did say that he was trying to adjust his mouthpiece and all that. But anyway, Andre the best in my opinion. Then J-Rock, and I did think Jermell at one point was up there, but man, like I said, the 154-pound division is deep. That's why some of the upper echelon guys won't look as good on a night fight in, fight out. But Andre the best, and you can rank the other ones however you want to. Yeah,
I'm telling you, man, my top three would change like every other night. Well, probably my number 3, but 1 and 2 I definitely got Andre. 2 J-Rock. It's something about him, man. Like, seeing him in person, talking to him. Like, I know Jamal Charlo calls himself a young lion or whatever, but you talk to J-Rock and you be around him, like he's a tamed lion. Like one of our callers said earlier, we haven't seen everything from him. Like we haven't, and I know there's more, and I'm looking for him to showcase, put on the showcase against Charlo in their fight. As far as number 3, pretty debatable. You got to keep Lara in your top 3 just because he's been top dog for so long. But I see guys like Swift Hurd coming up that are real nice. He's got a little bit of growing to do still, but he's definitely up there. And you know what? I would actually say Jermell is going to turn out pretty. Like he's only been in with Derek James for one camp. So he hasn't got all the nuances together from that camp. Derek James is the trainer for Earl Spence. And, so, Jermell didn't actually fight how he will with Ronnie Shields in that fight, as far as boxing and using his jab. It was a whole different fight. We've never seen him follow fighters, which is something that Derek James is kind of preaches as far as cutting off the ring and being a stalker and being aggressive. So I think we're going to see him actually grow in that style, and it's going to become more well-rounded, in a couple more camps with him, So I'm kind of going to pay close attention to Jermell just to see where he goes from here. On that note, we could go ahead and kick it to our next topic. We had the PBC fight with Errol Spence and Leonard Bundu, and it peaked at $6 million. About an average of $4.8 million. I wanted to ask you fellas, how can NBC and PBC capitalize off of these ratings? What do they need to do to keep it going and keep from being stagnated? I'll go ahead and start with you, Bo.
Okay, I'm gonna say to my man 2K, this is the part where I have to grab my napkin.
That's my shit, boy.
Oh, wow. Here you go.
I got to grab my napkin because I'm about to dish out, a pile of stuff here. Listen, first off, right after that fight, they should have been capitalized on it. Earl Spence should have been on ESPN Sports Center right away. Earl Spence should have been on some commercial. They should have did. There were so many things that they could have did after that fight to get the ball rolling to capitalize.
You mean such as highlights? You mean like such as highlights being
highlights.
Okay.
Highlights being done. You know what I'm saying? It's so much they could have did to capitalize off of that. But then again, at the same time, we have to ask ourselves, will these same entities have allowed that to happen? Because they seem to be against, the pushback for PBC. But at the end of the day, regardless of however you want to tell me he got it, whatever the case may be, I say this to people all the time when they tell me he capitalized off the Olympics. Everybody got a remote control in their house. You can change the goddamn channel. So
it was a whole half an hour after, the medal ceremony and all that. So people stayed connected. They had a whole lot of time to turn.
They had a lot of time to turn. They stayed connected. As a matter, if I'm not mistaken, the numbers actually went up as the fight went on. So
it did.
Tell me, okay, right. So don't tell me, oh, he did. No. Listen, that's good business. What are they saying in real estate? The best thing for business is what? Location. Yep. You look at this. Now look at PBC last year. What were some of their problems with some of their viewings? It was going against other top things like the NCAA tournament, certain events, and stuff like that. Well, this time they got it right. They put themselves in a position to where, hey, we'll benefit from it instead of it hurting us. And boy, did it ever work out. And it was great because also there was no undercard fight. They went straight to Earl Spence. Okay, they went straight to his fight. Right after that, he put on a performance he put on. 6 million people watched it. So instead of us arguing, or instead of us saying, hey, we had 6 million new viewers from around the world on a global stage saw a fight. Instead of that being the topic is how he got it. The topic is, it was PBC, or he was a 41-year-old and all that. That kind of stuff got to stop. We need to capitalize on this. We had 6 million people watch this, y'all. Let's capitalize on it. Let's move forward with this and bring all them new people and let them watch other fighters. That's why this is called the movement. It's called the movement because we don't care who you with. We don't care who your damn promoter is. We don't give a fuck about your goddamn network. We care about the damn sport. So let's bring these 6 million people in. Just like you said, we got all these cats at the lower weight division. We got all the names you told up, Lubin, Hurd, and all these guys, Felix Diaz, all these cats. Let's give them some shine. Let's get the ball rolling, because if you want to tell me boxing is dying, well, it's dying because of shit like this right here.
And that's the sad thing when you got supposed boxing fans being the ones that's nitpicking at shit like this. That's what hurts the most, man. Like, you can't let a positive be a positive. You got to pick at it over some dumb shit. What you got to say about this 2K? What do you think PBC and NBC could do to capitalize off this high viewer ratings? What do they need to do to keep it going?
I mean, they just need to keep doing what they've been doing for the last fucking year. I mean, it's every year it's something new. You know what I'm saying? Or not every year, but every big fighter, or whenever they showcase a up-and-coming fighter or a big fighter or a big fight, they peak up in views. I mean, so keep putting on good fights, keep putting on the best matchups, keep putting out the best fighters that, the majority of fans want to see. And keep making good business decisions like you've been doing for the last year. There you go. There's really don't break the format that's been working.
All right. And what about you, Big Cool? What's your take on this?
Well, I kind of spoke on it when me, you, and Bo did his show, I think, last week. Get him familiar. He's from Texas, so, I mean, if you could kind of fit him in with, he's from Dallas, so if you can put a relationship with him and Jerry Jones or him and the Cowboys, to have them showcase him, not even just when he's fighting, just any of the special guests to kind of get his name out there outside of just the boxing, fan base in Dallas, get him familiar, with football fans. He's an Olympian, so you can always kind of play back on his Olympian background. I mean, and do more, lead up shows, have him do interviews, and not just him, all fighters. I mean, dig deep in their background, have them on SportsCenter, granting a wish to a kid that is ill or something like that. I mean, there's different ways that you can maximize the marketability of each fighter, and just broadcast them on all networks that you have a deal with. ESPN especially, have them on First Take, have them on His and Her, have them on SportsCenter. I mean, just have him on that platform to where he could open up and let people know the real Errol Spence what he liked to do outside of, you know, his time training and fighting and different things like that, man. And it's definitely a lot of ways to, you know, maximize his drawing power and keep the fight fans and the casual fans interested in him, because obviously he has the talent. All he needs is that extra push from his team. So, I mean, it's like I said, there's a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I brought up with Breadman, is how PBC actually is using boxers and trainers as commentators, you know, current active boxers. Like, I think that's excellent right there, to have them showcase themselves, their personalities, become more familiar with fans. You know, I actually like to see that happening. We'd love to see him expand and do it with more fighters. You know, we see Danny Garcia doing it. I don't think we've seen, you know, Errol Spence in that limelight yet do it, but I'd love to see him on. Basically, I think, you know, I agree with 2K. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, PBC definitely needs to continue mimicking what they did as far as with piggybacking off the USA basketball thing. I think that's a good thing to be business-wise, strategy-wise. You know, we got NFL and college football season coming up, so, you know, that's definitely something they could look into. Why not have a fight before Sunday night football starts? You know, there's like an hour gap between the last afternoon game and the late night game, you know, an hour and a half that you could have a fight in between, you know, something like that. So that might be something to look at. You got rivalry weekend in college football. Why not have it before, you know, one of those games or afterwards, you know, piggyback off this stuff.
Also, maybe have a meet and greet with fans or something, like, you know, just to make them feel accessible.
Well, he's done that out here in Dallas a few times. Errol Spence. Actually, the guy that I interviewed, A.C. Clark, he's actually was doing a meet and greet for his new book, and Errol Spence was going to be at that meet and greet. So, yeah, they've done that a few times.
Okay.
That's definitely, PBC definitely can grow off of this. They just got to continue picking their spots like they did with this Spence fight. You got to be calculated. You know,
and they proved the critics wrong in every turn, too.
Say that again?
They proved the critics wrong. Like, every time you hear somebody say something about them, they're proving them wrong in the fights. Like, Joe Smith from Fought a Fight.
And then you got Thurman Porter as an example, that, you know, they had huge ratings this year. You know, the biggest criticism that I could agree with PBC from the first year is that there wasn't enough A versus A fights. You know, that was the only criticism I had. And, you know, in this second year, or, you know, they've actually upped that. Yeah, you know, they killed that noise. They brought the fights. You know, nobody else is bringing them. It ain't been no 2 divisional gap mismatches, you know, used to highlight our market, our biggest fighter. You know, it ain't been no shit like that. It's been real divisional fights. You know, so they've upped their game the second year, and there's really nothing people can say. You know, I don't think there should be any criticism about it. With that said, let's go ahead and kick into our next segment. I want to get 2K in on this one because this is one of his favorite divisions and one of his favorite fighters in those divisions. We got Monster Naoya Inoue. He's facing Karun Jerupalyard, I guess in a week or two. I want to say September 4th is when they fight. Let me go ahead and get your breakdown on this one, man, and what you think about the prospects of this fight.
Well, I mean, ain't too much of a breakdown, man. Naoya was my 2014 Fight of the Year, okay? And right now he's in my top 5 pound for pound. He's on my top 5 pound for pound list. I mean, this dude is ridiculous, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Karun, I can't pronounce his last name. Forgive me. Jerupalyard. Yeah, Jerupalyard. He's on a 16-fight win streak, mostly defending the TABA belt. We just talked about
regional.
All these whack-ass belts that are out there, you know what I'm saying, other than the major 4. PABA, for you cats that don't know, is the Pan-Asian Boxing Association. He's been defending that in that 16-fight win streak against limited opposition, mainly in Thailand. So this is going to be a fucking huge step up against the Monster. And I don't see anything different. He's tailor-made for the Monster style. I see a knockout within maybe 4 rounds.
And for y'all that don't know about Monster Naoya Inoue, two divisional champs, just like Lomachenko, within 10 fights. But he fought some real cats to get him. You know, Navarro, it was a long time champ. Yeah, you know, he was before Lomachenko did this. This dude is to be respected. Was worried about him being that Chocolatito Quadras fight, you know, to scout them, and he wants to fight the winner of the fight. So this dude, he's a bad dude.
Let me add. I forgot. Yeah, the reason I really believe this shit is a tune-up because he's gonna be at that Quadras Gonzalez fight, and there's been a lot of rumors circulating. You ain't gonna catch this shit in articles and nothing like that. But there's a lot of rumors circulating in the boxing community that Naoya and Chocolatito might be looking at a fight if he gets past Carlos Quadras, which I think he will. So I really believe this fight is just a fucking tune-up to keep him active and possibly get a Gonzalez fight, something that probably should have already happened.
I think that shit is perfect for it. Damn, I can't pronounce his name. I had it right. Inoue, right? From knocked out
Naoya.
The one that knocked out old boy Omar that stunk it out against Nonito.
Yes, he Omar Narvaez was dominating the division at that time. I think he had
he held it for what 3? He was dominating for a couple years. He had that belt for a long time.
He had 12, he was on his 11th or 12th title defense, and Inoue was the first guy to ever knock him out. And even before that, Inoue knocked out another guy who was doing well, Adrian Hernandez, for his first title.
Yeah, I done seen a couple of Inoue fights, man. He definitely, if one guy can beat Chocolatito, it's definitely Inoue. I mean, he's bigger. I mean, he's a. Damn, he can punch. I mean, he's not worried about that
speed. You can't train for that speed. That's probably the biggest concern is his hand injuries are starting to mount up.
That's what I was just going to say.
I'm kind of wondering if they're bringing him back too soon with this fight because he just injured. You know, it wasn't a fracture, fortunately, like previously. But you know, you kind of gotta wonder. You know, are they bringing him back too soon? Because you know, this is only his 11th fight coming up, and you kind of want to protect him because he's got some American money coming his way. Definitely, he should have it. If HBO is smart, you know, that they should have invested in the Inoue business a long time ago. You know, that's how I look at it.
They need to sign him down.
The guy he's fighting, 2K was being nice when he said, what did he say, limited opposition, 2K? What did you say?
Very limited, all in Thailand.
Okay, well, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's ridiculous opposition. The guy he's fighting was fighting guys that had 16, 20 losses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
because he's defending the Pan Asian Boxing Association belt. You don't even got any fucking rank for that.
Right. So I think this is the perfect opponent for him to fight because, like you did say, the hand. So he wants to come back and see how that hand is, and you know, before they get back to moving with him. And now the rumor that I heard was he's going to take the winner of the Gonzalez Quadras fight. It don't matter who wins.
That's what it's looking like.
Right, and 2K said something. We talked about this dude last year. 2K said something last year, and he was right because if you look at it now, look at him last and look at him now. They said that if Gonzalez was going to fight Inoue, he should have did it right then because if you let this dude get 2 or 3 fights beneath his belt, he could be a problem. Now, they've let that happen. Now this dude looks like he could be a problem, and you're right.
And Chocolatito seems to be slowing down at the same time. So definitely dangerous timing for that fight, but he's maximizing what he can, you know, so you got to big up Chocolatito for, you know, taking these big fights, you know, and not turning them down because we see it happen so many times and a lot of lagging with them. So you got to appreciate him for that. That's the good thing about the lower weights. These guys do not run from each other.
Hell no.
They will fight each other.
They run towards each other.
And it's only a 2-3 pound difference between the classes, so they might fight each other more than once. You know, there's definitely good fights to look at. So pay attention to these the lower classes. You know, junior flyweight, super flyweight, junior bantam. You know, These are
minimum weight.
Minimum weight especially. You know, look at those. These are high action fights that you guys need to be paying attention to. And I'm late getting in the game myself. I'm probably like maybe a year in and watching some of the smaller weights since being in a lot of these groups and, you know, chopping it up with these cats that really follow the international scene more. So, you know, I'm appreciative of all those cats that have put me on to the lower classes, especially 2K for breaking bread with a lot of them. You know, he does this. So with that said, we got a special segment we want to introduce on this episode. We want to call it the Ioka segment, where we put out a random fact. And this week we'll be talking about Rocky Marciano. 47 years ago on this day, he died in a plane crash in Iowa. Everybody knows who Marciano is, considered one of the greatest heavyweights ever, retired 49-0 in 1955, and you know, he would pass a decade later or so. But we just want to give a big up on that. You know, rest in peace to the champ. You know, Rocky Marciano still holds a record that, you know, people have questioned about Floyd surpassing or trying to go after. You know, so let's just definitely big him up on that.
Yeah, rest in peace, champ.
All right. And with that said, we'll go ahead and kick it to Big Cool's final blow. What you got to say, man?
Man, I think after the show, me, you, and both did. I see it a lot about fans that kind of, I don't know if they call themselves true fans, but, you know, if you're a true fan, you respect all aspects of boxing. And, you know, when we hear, you know, the term born or running, we know who they associate with, you know, Ward, Rigondeaux, Mayweather. And my thing is, boxing fans tend to play themselves when they, you know, decide to tune in or pay for a Mayweather or Andre Ward fight. You know the type of fighters they are. They're not going to give you a Mickey Ward versus Arturo Gatti type battle. So why go into a fight, you know, with them participating and expecting it, and then once the fight is over, you clown them and you accuse them of running, holding, and doing all kind of things instead of, you know, appreciating the greatness. There's more ways to skin a cat, and there's more ways to be entertained than just a straight-up brawl between, you know, two warriors. And every time I hear that, I just have to scratch my head. It's like, are you really a boxing fan, or are you just a fan of brawling and fighting? Because if you can't tell me that you're a boxing fan if you don't enjoy Floyd Mayweather just picking apart Shane Mosley or Sweet Pea, you know, dominating Chavez Jr., because that's a part of boxing as well. It's not just the Arturo Gatti, the Israel Vasquez, and the Rafael Marquez, you know, wars that we all love. You know, it's just that you got to appreciate all facets of boxing, you know, to really understand that what these guys do. Some guys go in there with the mentality that I want to show what I've learned, been taught over the years since I started boxing. And some guys go in there to just straight entertain you. But if you don't find entertainment from a pure boxing standpoint, then I just think you're more of a casual than anything, because I can watch a Sweet Pea fight and be thoroughly entertained, or I can watch a Toro Gotti fight and be thoroughly entertained. So stop playing yourself when these guys go in and fight. So don't come November 19th, don't be expecting no brawl with Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev unless Kovalev is talented enough to bring that out of Ward, because I know going into this fight there's going to be some clinching, some headbutting, some holding, some infighting. There's going to be an ugly fight, you know, but it's some fight I'm still looking forward to. So that's just my thoughts. Y'all may agree or disagree, but I just think that you should appreciate every fighter that's fighting, you know, in the sport of boxing.
Yeah, especially if you're a real fan. Like I always say, man, it's not always checkers. Sometimes you got to play chess. With that said, that was our final segment of the night. For my co-host, we got Big Cool, a Colossal Boxing Talk. We got 2K from the Guys of Boxing Talk, my man Bo from Truth and Facts About Boxing, and I am Twine Liberty from HoopJab.com and Rocky Mountain Boxing, and together we are the Movement.